Welcome to Human. I am so excited for the two incredible women I have on the show today. Trish and Andrea are two sisters that started Tools for All Teens, an incredible wellness company, I'd like to say, organization. They come into high schools and elementary schools and middle schools, all a part of the Toronto District School Board. I met both of them for the first time when I was in middle school, and they took my class through an incredible yoga and mindfulness practice. And then Trish and I reconnected, and I actually really got to know her, and then eventually got to know Andrea quite well when I was in grade 11 at Etobicoke School of the Arts, my high school, where I would practice mindfulness with Trish once a week every morning in a really small group. These two women have been so inspiring for me in so many ways, and in today's episode we discuss what mindfulness is, what the difference is between mindfulness and meditation, and how it is different for everybody. It is not a set practice or thing that looks specific for someone. It can be a range of different things, from sitting in silence to being guided through a mindfulness exercise to going for walks, being a part of nature, and just so many other things. Trish and Andrea have been doing this business for quite a few years now. Near the end of the episode, they discuss how they began it and why, and kind of the place in their lives they're at. But I just also love the beginning and middle of this episode, where we just discuss what mindfulness is and what it looks like and how it looks so different for everybody. So I just want to thank them so much for being here, for chatting with me, for sharing everything they do. They are doing some Zoom online mindfulness practices. I will include the links to everything in the description, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. I think there's a lot to take away from it, and I really enjoyed filming it with them. I'm also going to take a quick minute to thank our sponsor, Pick My Brain. Pick My Brain is an incredible platform where you can engage with people who are like-minded, or if you really want to expand your mind and learn more about yourself, or the world, or all of the crazy different people there are in it, you can check out Pick My Brain and meet the brains and book people for free or paid call and conversations, and you can really learn so much more about who there is in the world, what they're working on, what they care about, what they're up to, and I think that also will really help you learn more about yourself. And in this episode, we talk a ton about mindfulness and self-care, and I think a form of self-care is just opening up conversations with new people that can expand your mind. And Pick My Brain is a perfect, super simple place to do this. And as well, if you are someone who is very entrepreneurial, this is definitely a space for you to create your profile and be able to sell services to people in a really unique way. So check out pickmybrain.world and feel free to start your profile and start looking at what interesting people there are to converse with on there. I am on there, so feel free to book a call with me and give me a chat. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Follow me on Instagram at Jessica J. McDonald. Follow the podcast Instagram at Human to Human Pod. And make sure you check out Trish and Andrea at Tools for All Teens on Instagram, as well as their website. Enjoy today's episode. So first, I'll just say welcome to Human. I'm so excited to have both of you here. You are both just such influential women in my life, and I am excited to kind of dive into mindfulness and tools for all teens. So for everybody listening, I'm with Trish and Andrea right now. And I was just saying actually earlier before you jumped on, Trish, to Andrea, that I remember being in middle school at Karen Kane and you guys coming in and teaching yoga. And that was the first time I ever met you both. And I distinctly remember a moment when one of you was leading us through a mindfulness session and talked about, letting our thoughts just float away on clouds, and that just helped me so much. Amazing. And so then it took us to when I was in grade 11, I started doing the morning mindfulness sessions that you were running at ESA, Trish, and that was just a total game changer with my high school experience. And so I think what I would love is both of you can kind of introduce yourself. Trish, if you want to go first, and then Andrea, and just say who you are. People can get to know the way your voice sounds too, since this is the first time I've ever had two people here too.
Great. And not only are we two people, we're sisters.
Yes, thank you.
To
mention.
There you go. So we may even sound alike. So I'm Trish. And it's just an honor to be here. We're really excited to talk about, our most incredible journey that we're on as sisters in wellness, and something that's been part of our life for the last 26 years. But Tools for All Teens has really just been in the last 8 or 9 years becoming partners with the TDSB in wellness and promoting wellness. So we're really excited. We're taking our journey into just individuals, corporations, really expanding. So thank you so much. We're excited to be here for having us.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, yeah, I forgot to even mention that you're sisters. Who's older?
I'm a little older. Trish. Trish is older.
And Andrea, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Absolutely. Hi, Jessica. Hi, everyone. I'm Andrea. And yes, Trish and I are sisters. And we came up with this idea because we had both practiced mindfulness and yoga for many, 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 many years. And we saw the benefits and the impact that it had on both our lives and how we navigated our day-to-day world. I'm a retired teacher, but I did a lot of yoga and mindfulness with the students that I worked with. And that just seemed to be another modality to access kids. And so Trish and I sort of thought, hey, let's run with this. And she's been running, as mentioned, mindfulness programs in the mornings, and we're really spreading it out and just seeing the impact that it's having on people, and just slowing down a little bit and trying to bring ourselves into the moment and live as present as we can, and just find tools to navigate the day-to-day.
Yeah, I find when I began practicing mindfulness with both of you, it was just it started my day off on such a wonderful foot. The fact that we could sit in a room together and there was people kind of from all different ages in the high school and just sit in silence too, and how powerful that was. I find you both hold space for people to just sit and breathe and be with their thoughts, which is really rare, and it's really powerful to do in person too. And so I also want to clarify the difference between meditation and mindfulness. So I wasn't sure if one of you wants to kind of explain that and the differences between the two and why we're practicing mindfulness and not meditation.
Well, I think basically with mindfulness, like I've tried to explain to all the teachers, because we're also the programs that we've been running, it's really, we started realizing how much teachers needed the wellness as well. But the mindfulness is really about being more present. The mindfulness, like we have this wonderful thing we put together, like 5 truths and myths about mindfulness. And so as much as meditation is prevalent in most religions, mindfulness is not religious or spiritual. I mean, it can be a personal spiritual journey. But mindfulness is really about becoming more aware and more present of what is going on in our lives, the good, the bad, the dark, the light, as I've said, is for everyone to just come as who they are and to be with whatever is you feel like in that moment. So there is no, we're not out there to say, come on, everybody, just make your life more joyful. We believe what we're doing just creates. It's a natural impact that the practice has. So it's really about being more present. And so mindfulness can be done anywhere, anytime by anyone. And it could be brushing your teeth. It could be sitting in a formal practice. It could be walking your dog. It could be out in present right now in this moment. We're trying to be as present as we can so we can focus and not worry about what we're going to say next and not worry about what we just said, that we're actually focused here together. So that's really the difference. Meditation is more, it does go together.
So they're sort of synonymous with each other in that mindfulness, as Trish mentioned, it's paying direct attention to what's going on in the present moment. So and meditation is a form of mindfulness. It's you're paying attention to what is going on with your body, with your senses. It's with your sight. So as Trish had mentioned, if you're going on a walking meditation, you're paying attention to each step. And where they overlap is that mindfulness is also, it's a direct observation of what's going on in the present moment. So if your mind is busy, if it's racing, if you have your monkey mind, then you observe that, and you observe your thoughts, and you allow yourself to acknowledge it and then return back to your breath. And in meditation, there are specific practices that focus either on your breath, on your sight, on your various senses, and on sound. Sound is another form of meditation. But where the mindfulness, where there's an overlap, is the direct observation in a particular moment. So,
and awareness.
And awareness, exactly. So, and as Trish said, it's not about feel good. It's about being present and noticing what's coming up and returning always back to, again, they're different practices, but if you pay direct attention to what's going on in the moment, then oftentimes they've done studies where your cortisol levels will actually go down when you breathe. Wow. And that everything can soften. It doesn't mean you don't feel, you can feel untethered, but still bring your stress levels down. You can feel anxious, but by paying direct attention to your breath, by doing some of these practices, it just gives a pause. It gives some ease to your day-to-day.
I love that. I love you guys both explain that difference really well. And I find it even made me think about sometimes I'll get, really hyper focused on needing to sit down and have a session where I'm practicing mindfulness, and I'll get, kind of intense about it. But I find that I've learned that, mindfulness can be going outside, obviously not right now when there's snow on the ground, but, if it's nice and in the summer without your shoes on and just feeling your feet on the ground and just being present in the moment. And it's, it doesn't have to be restricting in a way where you just sit in a chair and breathe. And, I love that you both explain that it's really, it can be a various degrees of different things.
And also to understand, to be more accepting of what comes up and not going down. There's no need to go down any rabbit hole, because we become aware and we're able to bring ourselves back, find an anchor. And it's not always your breath, right? If your thoughts are going a little kooky, then actually finding another, it could just be from what you're seeing. Like we love the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise of just looking around and identifying what you see, what you hear. And those are ways of just coming back into the present moment. So so also accepting.
Well, and to Trish's point, that it's not always your breath that you need to work with. And going into nature, the healing, and whether it's winter, spring, summer, the seasons symbolically sort of represent, it can be symbolic of our emotion, the beauty of nature, walking by a river, listening to the sounds, as you mentioned earlier, touching the earth, smelling the flowers, smelling spring. It can be a whole sensory experience for someone. So it really depends where you are in any given day. So.
Yeah, that's such a good point, how it's just so dependent too on what we kind of need in the moment and what we're experiencing. And I'd love for either of you to touch on, like, I think it's hard sometimes to practice mindfulness because we get into this busy mindset of like, oh, we need to be productive and we need to get things done. But how does slowing down, if Trish, you want to touch on this first, how does slowing down really help you maybe increase your productivity or go with the rest of your day?
Well, completely, Jessica, because we really find that it's not really slowing down, actually. It's actually just paying attention to what's going on in the moment. Like the Zen masters, and we're not Zen masters by any means, but it's really about doing one thing at a time.
Yes. So as Trish said, it's noticing and recognizing what is going on when you choose to stop and pay attention. And I think that paying direct attention to what's going on in your experience lessens the stress, and it stops us from for all those thoughts from just racing, and it allows
Yeah.
us to just anchor. And another form of mindfulness on our conversation is also checking in with our body and doing a body scan, noticing, wow, I'm feeling some tension in my neck. I'm getting a little bit of a headache. Maybe I need to just do a body scan. And that's another form that can be a form of meditation, but mindfully checking in with every part of your body and noticing how that feels. And, sometimes when we're going to sleep, if our mind is racing, to find a way to check in with our body. And it could be through our breath, as Trish mentioned, but it's not just our breath. It could be checking in with our body and checking in with how we're holding ourselves.
And one of the things that you were talking about as far as slowing down, and so I just wanted to really put that out there, that often when I am the most busy and most stressed out is the time that I actually try to become more present than ever. And I find I'm much more productive because I'm not worrying about the next thing. I'm dealing with what I have to deal with right now in this moment. And so whatever that may be. So that is just one thing that I find, that by actually slowing down is when the productivity levels come up. You also feel better. So you're not feeling, you're able to deal with the stress and the challenges of whatever you have to do. So so I just really wanted to make that point, how important it is to slow when you are at your busiest and most stress is the time to really focus on just becoming aware of what's going on, what you're doing in this moment.
Yeah, I love that. And I think I'm very guilty of always worrying about kind of what's next and what's coming up next in the day or what's next on the to-do list. But mindfulness and how the fact that mindfulness takes so many different forms too is such a helpful tool to know and to remember that it can just be a couple breaths, or like you said, checking in with the things you see and taste and smell. It doesn't need to look one specific way.
No. And I think that mindfulness is also a very overused term too. Mindfulness is really what, if you wanted to use, and we often do this with educators and people that maybe aren't as experienced of the mindfulness practice. And so one of the things is really is just pure awareness of what's going on in your life. So awareness and then acceptance. So mindfulness, you can just think about being present and more accepting of what is coming up. Not fighting so much. We do so much fighting with ourselves and trying to get it all done. And that's when we end up making mistakes and not being focused, right? We've got our phones, we've got our computers, we've got our phone calls, we've got people around us. And it's, a good opportunity to chill when you're beyond. And it's not about being complacent, and it's not about just forgetting about all the responsibilities and challenges that you have going on. It's just about learning to not worry so much about it. As Andrea says, bringing those cortisol levels down.
And on that, speaking to what you're saying, Trish, that oftentimes when we really are feeling extremely anxious, usually it's when we are racing into the future. And so just having, and Trish and I have talked a lot about this on the platform, that having that pause button where we just stop and check in with our breath for a moment, because we may be spiraling into racing into the future, and just bringing ourselves, as Trish mentioned, just bringing ourselves back into the present moment. Because when we run into the future, we're creating more anxiety for ourselves. So trying to step back, trying to pause and bring ourselves into the moment. So
I agree. Yeah, I think it's really easy to kind of get lost in the future and trying to predict what's going to happen. But when it comes down to it, we can only control really what's going on right here and right now. And our breath is such a perfect way to come back to that, right?
Right, because we're breathing. It's the really one thing that we're doing in this moment is breathing. we're not breathing 3 weeks down the road. Our minds may be there, and hopefully we will be breathing in 3 weeks down the road. But really what is happening with why our breath is such a great anchor is because it is happening in this present moment. And one of the things too that Andrea and I are huge advocates, and Jessica, you've heard me mention this hundreds of times in our workshops, and that is there is no separation between mind and body. It's scientifically proven. We know. So with Andrea mentioning body scans, like sometimes just stretching, just doing some, that's why yoga is such a wonderful way to heal too, but going for a walk or whatever it may be that's physical, just loosening up a tense neck can be as good as taking 5 breaths. But combining the movement of your body and your breath is like a double dose of joy and release, a release of tension. So learning to breathe and to move together and stretching and making sure, like, that's why that body scan, checking in with your body. How is your body feeling? Because if there's tension in your belly or there's tension in your back, then you can start to pay attention, release that tension, you will feel better. So there really is such a strong connection between your mind and body, and the breath is that bridge.
Just to add on to that, another piece of what we offer, we do a lot when we're doing live workshops, and we'll probably do them sometimes on the platform too, is just to offer the suggestion of writing 3 things you feel grateful for. And that's another way to take the focus off our busy mind and move into the present moment of just writing down, or even just saying it out loud, thinking of 3 things. And it's another way to pause. It's another way to step back, and another way to be in the present moment. So
I love one of the things, the practices you guide us through in mindfulness is, may I, like the terms, what do you call it?
The loving kindness, the metta.
Yeah, where it's like, may I be safe, may I be happy, may I be healthy, and may I live with ease. And then directing that to someone else too. I find whenever you've led us through that, I get really emotional, and I find it sitting in that, bringing gratitude into that mindfulness practice is so powerful, and thinking of being grateful for ourselves and what we're doing for ourselves and the other people that we have in our life too.
Yeah, and then reaching out to others. Yeah.
It's gratitude is just huge, because we do get so caught up. And so the other metta can be self-compassion. So translated also into just loving kindness. So again, as we, if we can't, let's just say somehow you're just not feeling like everyone's being kind around you or something, but you can be kind to others and you can be kind to yourself. That we do have control over, right? We don't always have control over what others can do. I mean, it doesn't really matter what others do for us. The more, kindness you spread, and the more wellness, the more you impact others. It's a natural, like we think about all the people in your life that are inspiring and positive and not unauthentic, and not that they don't have real emotions and real feelings, but that they're actually feeling it, but they're not getting lost in them. Not getting lost in our thoughts is through this practice. And then the other thing is, really, we keep saying practice because it's a practice. It's a daily, moment by moment practice. And there are times when you're so busy and you think, okay, I don't have time to sit down for 10 minutes and breathe. So then what can you do? If you've got chores to do, use that as if you're cleaning dishes or vacuuming, or if you have an essay to write, or you have a work obligation, using that as your mindfulness practice. Like, it's just about being present and being very focused on what you're doing. And then the other thing is, mindfulness is not always about quiet and peace and silence. Mindfulness, our minds are chatty. So how can we calm that? So it's really just practices and experimenting with different ways, because it is different for everyone. I love walking meditations. I love sitting, but sometimes I just need to walk and really be focused on moving.
Absolutely. I think that's such a good point too. And you've mentioned this previously, Trish, about how your father passed away when you and Andrea were both in your late 20s. And you and I have talked before about how it's so important to know that we can hold joy and pain at the same time, and to practice mindfulness, and to allow us to feel what we need to feel and not fight it.
Exactly. Because we're trying to push away pain in our life, and pain and stress is just part of life. It's part of living. And so
Mm-hmm.
when we can recognize that we can feel both joy and pain all in the same moment, it's really opens up like an incredible emotion of, okay, this is like I think a lot of people are experiencing that right now, Jess, and with Christmas and with the family that they did see, the celebrating that people have done in a time where we haven't had a lot of space for celebration. So everyone found, well, maybe not everyone, but many people found ways of celebrating this Christmas. So you might be feeling a little down. You're so grateful for the joy and the pleasure,
Mm-hmm.
but you're still feeling a little bummed because now what? COVID's still here. We're still in lockdown, but
Mm-hmm.
we can still run with every moment, like sitting here with the two of you. And like, this is a wonderful experience. And then, an hour and a half ago, I'm on the phone and someone's really stressed out and I'm having to calm them down. So it's okay to feel it all, like you
Yeah.
said.
So one of the things that I was going to say, to add on, is that some days are harder than others to sit. And so the beautiful thing is, and as Trish mentioned this much earlier, that there are many variations in terms of what you can do to be mindful. So, Trish and I were talking the other day, and I said, lately, my mindfulness practice has been walking, and just walking in nature. And I find the house is so busy right now. For me, the best way for my grounding and noticing if I'm racing is to just step into nature. And I've been doing that a lot. And it's been just a really good way to slow down and anchor.
Mm-hmm.
Other days, it might be just sitting and focusing on the breath. Another day, it might be just journaling. It might be doing the loving kindness practice. And that's what we want to provide, are the tools and the different practices, that there's not just one way to be mindful. So,
Absolutely.
and
And I think
anywhere, anytime.
yeah, and that what that
Yeah.
made me think about too is my mom asked me recently, and she asked, when I come and I practice mindfulness, she said, like, do you ever get emotional, or and I was like, absolutely. Sometimes, I feel like it's so important to practice this in any way that feels right for us, because if the only silent times we give ourselves is right before we go to bed, then we're not going to be getting very good sleeps, because we're going to have
Exactly.
so many emotions come up. So allowing different moments in our day to just disconnect from our phones and to be in the present moment, I find I absolutely get emotional. Sometimes I cry at the beginning of a yoga practice, or other times I'll just get overwhelmed with joy because, we finally give ourselves space to let whatever needs to come up, come up.
Yeah. And yoga, it's interesting you mentioned yoga, because again, I practice yoga every day, and I will hit, depending on emotions, there's certain things like cobra pose, or when you're opening up your heart center a little more, that you can actually trigger emotion. So again, that mind body connection. And there's nothing woohoo. Like Andrea and I have been very careful about trying to be too hippy dippy or woohoo, because we really feel, as wonderful as that is, and trust me, when we were in our late teens and 20s, we were right there. But we've evolved into just realizing, and continued, like we never stop. And I think that's what keeps us going. But just to see how it really doesn't matter what you do, or whether you are have a really high-paced career, or whether you're just quiet at home, working, a student, that these things come up for all of us, of every one of us. Like, we're not, but it's not really even about the challenge or the stress. It's how we manage it, how we handle it. So not everybody can sit. I always say not everyone's a bath person. Some people just need that shower, right?
Right.
That's
It's
a great analogy to use. It's so true. I'm a bath person, but my friends are like, well, I can't. I don't understand what you do in the bath.
I know.
I like that analogy.
I really want to dive into Tools for All Teens. Andrew, if you want to start off and give a bit of a description of what is it and why you guys began it.
Absolutely. Well, so Tools for All Teens evolved from both Trish and I practicing over the years and years of practice with yoga, with mindfulness, with journaling. And we decided that why don't we pull something together as sisters, and let's start with working with kids and students. So
just to jump in there, I'm so sorry, but it's really, really important that it was at a time, it was based on a census that was done of over 100,000 students. So take it away, Ange.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, please jump in anytime.
Yeah.
So, because I'm just pulling it off from the tip of my head. But it's a self-empowerment program to provide now, and initially for students, but it has broadened into organizations, to sports organizations, it's expanded significantly, but initially lifelong stress management tools to help students, to help people navigate the stressors of life. And in doing so, we've offered yoga, mindfulness practices, journaling. And as we've sort of been unpacking what it looks like, there are a number of practices that we just keep teaching our students. And mainly our goal, of course, is to promote wellness and well-being, and through these various practices. And Trish, please feel free to.
Well, I think it's really, really important because Andrea and I we spent many years doing, we called them True Balance life workshops, and that included very similar. So we had this whole program organized, and then we heard about this horrendous statistic of students and teachers that were experiencing enormous amounts of stress. It was up to 75% of students felt some sort of like stress, anxiety, depression, at least once a day within their day. Like it was a massive, and it was a huge. So this is when the TDSB, we really jumped on it and we applied like very quickly. We thought we were at a school. My kids were at Etobicoke School of the Arts, where you went, Jess, and where we met. And the principal was just absolutely unbelievable and supported, and with a guidance counselor and one of the teachers. And they supported us on this journey of putting together a film, a video, promo video. They loved the idea. We set up a whole promotion on really what Tools for All Teens, what we wanted, like Andrea said, to create a program of introducing lifelong stress management tools, such as yoga, mindfulness, and journaling. And then from there, we applied within 3 months to the TDSB for a partnership. And it was they loved it. And they've supported us. Because I run the school part of Tools for All Teens.
Yes.
We are on our third 3-year contract we just got this year. So we're really, really excited. But this is passion. From the get-go with my kids in kindergarten, I've been teaching yoga in their class. Andrea is a phenomenal educator and was specialized in behavior and would always teach her kids yoga and mindfulness. So it's something that we've been doing for years with students. And then we recognized that if we didn't have the teachers practicing, how are we going to sustain it? So our thing is really about trying to sustain these elements. It's worked in our lives. And I might add, when we started Tools for All Teens, our mother was beginning a 10-year Alzheimer's journey. So it was really, there was big stuff that was going on. We were raising young kids. We had careers. we always were teaching wellness. We would just do that in the evenings and weekends, and passionate about it. And then we just said, and then we had tools for all teams. We had it all done, and we were in the board within 3 months. So like, it was really, it was timing, like our timing was impeccable. And we really thought, like, again, this whole, phone and technology, and Jessica, about the turn off your sites.
I was going to mention it. Yeah.
We've done 7 of the turn off your sites days about actually just learning to manage our social media. Because again, we're not all about the rules and you got to do this and take your phone off and be off, most of your day. We understand people need technology. It's not going anywhere. How can we make better use of it is really our passion. So just with the support of the education and with Andrea's experience within the education. So she's always been able to help with when I'm actually dealing with educators and administrators. I've sort of got the lingo down now. I'm learning every day.
You sure do.
But that's amazing.
So we've been really excited, and we are still so passionate. And people keep saying, "Are you going to change your name? Are you going to change your name?" Because we're going into more corporate work. Well, we've done city retreats, as you know, but we keep it doesn't feel right to change, because this is where it all really began for us, this enormous jump into wellness and sharing wellness and practicing. Like we come to the table as we're practicing. We're not just, we don't think that we're these teachers and we're above and beyond anyone else. We're really just trying to share this, it's helped for us. So during this Alzheimer's journey of our mom, raising kids, starting a whole new career, it was a blast. Like we were just had to be present. In fact, our mother was probably very responsible, being an Alzheimer's, going through an Alzheimer's journey, that has really taught us about being present, because that's where she was in the moment. And so that's kind of where this whole mindfulness journey began, even though we had been practicing for years, didn't even realize it till we were,
she was, our mom was a huge teacher. She laid the foundation down for us, in that would have a conversation and maybe you would have the same conversation again. But for her, it was all about being in the moment, all about being present. So maybe we'd go sometimes for 2 or 3 hours, and a half an hour later, she might not remember. But in that moment, she was so engaged and so present. And it was a beautiful teaching for us. And oftentimes, Trish and I would say, there was pain in that journey, but there was also so much joy, because we really did experience our mother in the truest present form. And it was such a gift. So it was kind of what Trish was saying, how we could be happy and joyful in a place, but also there was some pain, but it fueled us. And it was that dichotomy. It was just that sort of split.
And we all agreed, we have a beautiful brother as well. And so we all lived in Toronto. We all had young children and were raising children. But we decided that we were going to bring our children in on this journey too, as far as just being mindful, being aware, and really about embracing each moment, like with our kids. And when we couldn't, it was too much, or it was a little overwhelming, well, then Andrea would go down and see my mom, but someone was there with her every day. And we did, thankfully, fortunate enough to have really beautiful help angels, as we call them. But that was a really remarkable journey, because it could have been disaster. It could have been hell on wheels, going through raising kids, a parent on an Alzheimer's journey, working full time, trying to keep a strong relationship with your partner. But we just decided to embrace it. And it made the difference. We weren't resisting. We went with it. We just went with the flow.
Oh, I love that.
And with the feelings that were woven into that. You just kind of, it's the cloud analogy. Your thoughts are like clouds, and your feelings are the same way. They'd come and go, but we just forged through it together, the siblings and our spouses and it was beautiful.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And I love that you mentioned you didn't resist it and you didn't fight it. You just, you took all the good with the bad, and so many relationships would take, hits to that, and having such a hard, young kids and an Alzheimer's journey, and the fact that, you kept your family unit tight and connected and felt all the things you needed to feel while embarking on a new journey in a new business while you still had full-time jobs is crazy. That's such an empowering story, and I never knew that side of Tools for All team.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I also want to, discuss how you've seen it impact young lives too, because it has impacted me so much, and I've seen it impact others that I got to practice with at Etobicoke School of the Arts as well.
Sort of with what I found with high schools is we went in, we had a really specific, beautiful 50-minute program. We immediately would ask for how they're feeling after and reflect on that moment. So in that moment, they'd be like, I would say 98%, like the first year we had over 700 testimonials, and they were all like remarkable, because it was, the yoga, like I felt so good. People would say in that moment, because that's all it is, right? As I've said many times, Jess, you've heard me, is the enlightenment is in the moment. There is no seeking. It's there. So they would experience that. Then we would do breathing exercises, and they would reflect after that. Oh, I feel so much better. And be like, you did it. You did that, not me. I just guided you. So they did it. They recognized their power. So then people like yourself that made that choice, you felt a shift. You knew that, oh my gosh, I can feel better. And it may only be just in this moment.
That's a great point. Yeah. Yeah, I remember Sadie and I used to say when we were in high school and would practice with you, we used to say, I wish we had a little Trish in our pocket all the time with us that could help us connect back to it. But it's so important to recognize it is within us.
It is. And so that's always our big thing, is about saying, you did it. We didn't. We just practiced. We shared what we are experienced to share, because we can't be here unless we're certified and experienced. And then so that was great. And then with the teachers, we would do these quick, we would do these great workshops of how to bring more wellness, because teachers, they didn't always react necessarily to just mindfulness, how to bring more wellness into the classroom. So again, just strategies. And so Andrea was great. One of the things, and she'll mention this, but just about when your students walk into the classroom, you actually look at them and you say hello. You're not looking at your phone, you're engaging. So how can we create without having a lot of money? So the schools not necessarily having all this money to support all these programs. How can we give the teachers their power to be bringing more wellness? Now, many of the teachers, as you know, at ESA and many schools, but they're spectacular. They're incredible human beings, and they're all about the wellness. Much about the wellness.
It was so powerful to practice alongside my teachers too, that I would see in my classrooms every day, because you would really realize we're all on the same level. No one is above anyone, and we're all looking to de-stress and live in the moment. And to have that experience alongside a teacher that usually, you're always looking up to in class was really cool. It was a really different thing to see and feel.
And just realizing that stress is stress. So people, that's why we've, started with this, because that was just the idea. The timing was perfect. And then Andrea, we started in high schools, and then we started going into elementary, where Andrea introduced me to hundreds of people, and then have given so many strategies to the young ones, Ange, like color codes. Like, do you want to tap onto that?
Absolutely. Well, so Trish, so as Trish mentioned earlier, she oversees the school piece, the partnership there, but I have the privilege, I'm so blessed that I get to help her out with it and go into the schools and help there. And absolutely, with the elementary panel, a lot of it is about the self-regulation. Always in our workshops, in the elementary panel, we invite the teachers and and request that they're there also, so that they're very versed and they know what we're bringing into the workshops, and they're able to carry it on, so that there's that continuity, that it's not just 3 workshops and that's it.
Like yourself, Jess, it's like changed your trajectory. We know so many students and we know so many teachers. Like I have teachers now that are just absolutely so committed to wellness, mindfulness, music, yoga videos, just bringing it, recognizing how when we feel better, we perform better. It's just, we're also nicer people. So as far as from an ethical standpoint, the equity, it's, you feel better, so you're treating people better. You're treating yourself better. So if you're treating yourself better, you're going to be treating others. And then I've had people, students, I mean, Andrea and I both, like students and teachers that have come up and just said, yeah, it's life-changing. And they're still, jumping in on our workshops. So it's exciting. Yeah, we're really, so exciting, we can't tap into enough people. It really is. We know the power behind it all, the power within ourselves, really.
Yeah.
And in terms of another impact it's had is that oftentimes schools will have wellness days now. So there's a wider awareness of how important wellness and mental health is.
Good point, because we started a whole wellness day thing at several schools. Yeah. And so students are doing that themselves. And we also had like wellness groups. So we've also helped. Now, mind you, again, social workers at the school, everybody's getting more involved on the wellness wheel. So it's fantastic.
Absolutely.
We're excited.
It's amazing. And I'm so happy to be able to have you both on to spread the word and to share, everything that you guys know about this and that I've learned. And Andrea, if you want to talk about kind of what your next steps are, what you're looking forward to in the future with Tools for All Teens and your plans.
Absolutely. Well, as Trish said, another division of Tools for All Teens that we have is called City Retreats. And currently, starting January 12th, we're going to be offering mindfulness during precarious times, and it'll be our 3rd session that we're offering. And it's just 5:30 to 6, and it's also it's an introduction. Some have been with us the whole time. Some are very new to it. And then we're also looking to expand into corporations, which we've been doing. We have a couple of projects on the go with Ontario Tennis Association. We're going to be collaborating with them. And then another area we'd like to really focus on also, in addition, of course, to the schools, would be the universities, and creating more of a platform and an outreach for students that are in university. So that's going to be sort of a long-term goal for us.
Yeah, I remember Trish and I talked about that quite a while ago about universities, and I definitely want to look into that and see if there's anything of that sort already at Ryerson, or if there's like an initiative, I can take and we can work together and integrate something. Yeah,
that would
exactly.
Be amazing.
Yeah,
that would be amazing.
And with the pandemic, so the Mindfulness in Precarious Times workshop, as soon as the pandemic hit, we realized we wanted to make an offering, and that was so Mindfulness in Precarious Times. Again, how can we find some calm and peace when things are so uncertain? So really the pandemic has created, it's just amplified life. I mean, it's still life. Life is uncertain. There are many great ups and downs, as there have been through the pandemic. So we're kind of experiencing life with a really, really big capital L.
Yeah.
And
capital L.
Yeah. So with the Mindfulness in Precarious Times, it's been so exciting because, again, it's an opportunity, like our mindfulness sessions at ESA, to just you don't need an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours or 5 workshops, but just to come for half an hour and learn different strategies, to realize just an opportunity, and sometimes we need to give this to us. We do courses and seminars and workshops all the time, other people's, and to keep learning and to keep growing. But with the mindfulness in precarious times, what we're seeing is that people are just like, this is so special. This is just rare to find something that's offering simple, practical, impactful ideas and strategies to help manage our stress, like right now, and to know that we can get through this. And working as community, we also really believe in the whole idea of reaching out to our community, never being afraid to ask for help. But just to stop and be, to simply just be, as opposed to do all the time.
I know,
right?
Someone said this to me recently, is that like, we're human beings, we're not human doings. It's important to sit and be.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
I agree. And, you know, one of the things too, we believe, like with the pandemic, is again, the whole thing about being, but we're not all in the same boat, and we understand that. We are in the same storm. So it's a storm happening. It has been, but we are in different boats. And so some of us are have better opportunities than others, different, some jobs depending, but we can still find some time to help honor ourselves and to treat ourselves well, no matter what the circumstances are. And again, like Andrea says, we have good days and we have bad days, and good moments and challenging moments. So I never like to think of any day as a bad day, but more challenging.
Challenging.
Absolutely.
A little cloudier, a few more
cloudier.
It's a little cloudier.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing that I just wanted to speak on about creating a platform is creating Sangha, or community, creating that sense of you're not alone in this. We're in this together. Maybe, as Trish said, separate boats, but you know, some people on the platform choose to not have the video on, and that's absolutely fine. There are no rules. It's whatever one's comfort is. Be where you are at 5:30, you know, wherever that is. And some want to stay on for 10 minutes extra and discuss, and others, they're happy, they've had enough, that's okay. And it's just a safe platform, but most importantly, to build community.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's so important to do that in any sense, and it just makes all the difference. And I'm just so glad I've been able to have both of you come on here and talk about mindfulness and yoga and just the impact it can have, and the fact that there are no rules to it. And so I want to make sure people can find you online. We're so lucky that Trish, you're going to lead us through a little practice before we're done the episode. But Andrea, did you want to just explain also where people can find you online and like find mindfulness in precarious times and all of that?
Absolutely. www.toolsforallteens.ca. That is where you can find what we're offering.
Perfect.
On a day-to-day.
And you started a Tools for All Teens Instagram account as well, right?
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did. I'd like Trish, to say, add on, please.
Okay, so it's at Tools for All Teens Instagram, and then the Tools for All Teens it's www. It's just exactly the way it sounds for our website. So you can find that information there, or we've also on our link we have our emails that you can connect with as well.
Okay. All right. So lead us through a practice before we end here.
So what we're going to do, this is called a grounding practice, and maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. And it's really about when you're feeling anxious, stressed out, or you just really can't find your breath, that anchor. So using your senses. So it's about what you see, touch, hear, smell, and taste. So we're going to do with each sense that I will bring you through, we're going to bring our breath into it. So allowing our breath to guide us into each. So taking 5 breaths, we're going to start with, so your eyes open to begin with, 5 things that you see. Breathing through, so inhaling, and exhaling. 1. And take your time. Don't rush through this. Inhaling and exhaling. And 3. Inhaling, exhaling. And find 2 more things using your breath that you see. Now, closing your eyes softly or just finding a gentle gaze. Breathing through 4 things that you can touch. It could just be your pants, your clothing, your hair, just whatever it is. And breathe through. Take a full breath. Inhale and exhale. 4 things you can touch. And now 3 things that you can hear. So just quietly listen. It may be the sound of your breath. It may be just a distant noise. Just listen. Connect to 3 things you hear. And then we're moving into 2 things that you smell. So again, following your breath. And it may just be the smell of your hair. The room. And then finally, 1 thing that you can taste. So what's the taste in your mouth right now? Or you may have a sip of tea. And then just following with 1 full breath and knowing that you can always come to your senses and using your sense as an anchor, just like you would with your breath, and breathing through and enjoying the calming down, settling your mind and your thoughts. And with that, thank you very much, and sending you all wonderful wishes. Take care, everyone.
Make sure you check out Trish and Andrea at Tools for All Teens on Instagram and their website. Follow me on Instagram at Jessica J. McDonald, at Human to Human Pod, and make sure you're subscribed to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. We'll see you on Tuesday. Thanks for listening.